Hello there, my name is Rachel. The first time you see my channel, I used to review cartoon series, anime series, so something. Hope you read them. Today we're talking about a new series called David Spellbound, a new anime series from Netflix, and I have to say, this series is actually pretty good. Of course, it kind of starts slow, specifically the first episode. You have to admit, the first episode is sort of tricky to land because you're really not sure this is literally good or bad because all the action scenes are very basic. They're never trying to change it up. It's just point A to point B, and that's the thing, sort of question you like, this is sort of worth watching. I have to say, yes, you have to watch episode 2. In fact, how to describe this show is sort of that kind of anime rule. You don't really say that you watch 3 episodes, decide this series is meant for you. You have to use that rule to actually watch this series because it takes a little while to actually get there because the whole series focuses on character data, character relations, or just chemistry of the characters. For example, David is not a good person. He is sort of a very street rat ghetto type of character who do sort of things to get paid so he can actually eat and pay his bills. Especially David actually kind of messed up one of his missions, one of the biggest gangsters of New York, of the matcha world, because he owes a lot of money called the baker, that she is not happy and wants to actually hunt down David and kill him because he owes him a lot of money. But he make a sort of deal if he kind of does a sort of specific mission just for her. Of course, David sort of ran away because he was sort of stuck in a sort of situation he had to get out of, but sort of accidentally started an adventure because he sort of found out that someone trying to look for this sort of magical item called a magical egg, griffin egg specifically, that he doesn't know what it is, but he has heard of it because his dad was sort of obsessed with this sort of magic egg. But he thought his father wastes his time. Why he wastes his time looking for something that is not real. But the magical officers of the law who protect the magical world stopped them, asked them to find this magical thing and help them, and also help them to push off the baker. That's what made it so interesting because David does not want to. He doesn't want to do nothing with his father, nothing with his magic egg, nothing to do with anyone. Just he want to serve himself, protect number one. But I love it, he doesn't have a choice because if he doesn't, he probably doesn't have protection from the baker. And that's what makes it so interesting because it forced David to do sort of things to accomplish his job. Especially he had to team up with two other characters to complete the mission. One of the characters he sort of accidentally met called Rolly, I think his name. I'm not 100% sure. Correct me down below, but Rolly is basically this sort of magical pig who talks, who actually can smell magic. He doesn't want to work with them, but because the pig, he has nowhere to go, he's sort of stuck with David. But this is what the series make this sort of fun and interesting. It's all about their chemistry, how David and Rolly sort of kind of communicate, that sort of charm, because this whole show heavily focused on dialogue, the relationship and how they talk to each other. If the show does not grab you because of that, this is the only reason you should watch the series, because the dialogue is really good and really charming. Of course, it takes a while to get there because the first episode is sort of chooses to focus on the dialogue, not the action, because the action is sort of very basic. I mean, point A to point B, nothing really dynamic or nothing really creative to grab your attention. So this is the reason I recommend watch 2 to 3 episodes if you want to see the series, because the series, it is good, but it takes a little while to get there because it's trying to establish everything about David, about Rolly, and the third character, Lucy, that she is a cop of the magical world who want to help basically Rolly and David, because that's her job. Especially she's the best, and also it's the only friend that David actually has. But it's one of the most sort of frenemies. I think all three of them are basically frenemies because they have this sort of I hate you sort of dialogue, but I still like you. Something you basically hang out with your friends and you basically say bad stuff back to each other, but you really don't mean it because you know they don't actually mean saying it. That sort of relationship, you can say basically whatever you want, no strings attached. Yeah, that's basically the best way to describe it, but it's sort of fun and interesting. Of course, I love this. They make sure David is sort of questionably first. Of course, later on he does something very kind of questionable, like leaving her friends because he feels he got betrayed. But at the same time, the other friend betrayed him. If you've seen the episode 5, you know what I mean. But once again, it's sort of that question that David needs friends, especially right now because he had to find this sort of magical item. Because it's sort of end of the world. Specifically, was hunted up several parties who want this magical item. I'm sorry, I'm starting, but anyway, I mean, he has the Metro Bureau. He has to worry about the baker, other bunny hunters, also basically a magical cult who wants also this magical item. But once again, I think what make this series just so kind of fun and sort of enduring is sort of the interpretation of not just the relationship but the magical creatures. For example, like a mermaid that you think sort of a skinny sort of white girl, could be a redhead, but no, their version actually is more fish than human. Or a gremlin, specifically a tech gremlin that actually wears tech because they're so obsessed with tech. Or a fairy who kind of attracts you, their beauty, but their actually music is sort of terrible but doesn't look like human, but look like kind of trollish in a way. But once again, that sort of kind of unique take make this series completely worth watching. Of course, this series is still sort of PG, so friendly, but they are lucky they try to push it the best they can. Push it enough to make questionable things like David would do. Yeah, I like that because I felt they actually are developing actually characters and make them sort of likable, questionable, but still likable decisions to make it work. Especially how David get closer to his new two best friends. For example, Rolly is the type of character he's cursed but very sassy because he's sort of bitter because he's actually a pig that David's sort of trying to help him turn back human, but he's sort of a realist, like, no, I'm fine. I'm a pig because I am a pig. There is no way out of it. But once more, you kind of feel his sort of pain. You understand his sort of sassiness. You also have Lucy, who is dedicated to a job but doesn't realize maybe too dedicated because she should have kind of screwed around with David and Rolly's business. If they burn him out, he has no job. So you see why David doesn't like Lucy that much. And same time, you see why Lucy doesn't like David because she messes with her job. And that's what make this series so interesting because you kind of understand each character's sort of point of view. Now, it's well executed. I like to say good 80 or 75% well executed. 25 it sort of depends on you. You feel the show landed little things like, once again, the action scenes. The action scenes are a little slow here and there, specifically the first episode. Later on, the action scenes just pick up, make it more interesting, more dynamic. But once again, that's sort of the sacrifice to focus on the dialogue in the relations of the characters. But I do love that they actually understand they had to make it more dramatic. The longer it goes, the more dramatic it has to be to actually get you invested. Too much fun sort of ruined the series, but luckily this show understand balance, at least for right now. Now you kind of not realize I am recommending watching this series. Of course, I have to admit, watch 3 episodes. Maybe this is for you, maybe it's not, but I have to recommend it, yes. Now, I got really nothing else to say, just maybe the animation is sort of rough, specifically the first episode. After that, I feel the animation is fine, specifically because the character designs, I mean, God, some of the character designs, I was sort of surprised how unique really are, because there are some kind of magical creatures, like kind of blow my mind. Like that was good character design or some human character. But what's more, that's sort of how you like sort of your own designs or specifically character designs. Now I really got nothing else to say. Just one question: do you like it? Do you hate it? Tell me down below. Let me know. I got nothing else to say. Just thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and have a wonderful day. Bye.